Thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations on your new ride. My name is Alnika, and I'm with Cool the Earth. We are an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. While we are big fans of walking, biking, transportation, public transportation, and carpooling, preferably in an EV or e-bike. They have some great cargo e-bikes. With our Ride and Drive Clean collaboration, we work to advance the adoption of electric vehicles, EVs, and e-bikes in a fair and just marketplace. Whether you got your EV from Cartelligent, Emotion Autos, a dealer, or you bought it on Craigslist, we're happy you can join us this evening, and we hope that we can make the transition to driving electric smooth for you. I'd like to thank the City of Palo Alto Utilities for sponsoring this webinar, and I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Kevin Morrison, who will be co-presenting with me this evening. So this is what we're going to cover. Charging seems to be the biggest question that people have right before they go electric or after they go electric. So we'll cover charging at home, at work, on the road, and even during a power outage. And in which case it might be bidirectional charging, actually. We'll talk about clean, affordable electricity and how to access that. We'll review some incentives, and then we'll have a Q&A session. While we are going to be covering a lot of information, not to worry, we'll be sending out a follow-up email probably tomorrow with important links and information and the PDF. We will also send a recording of this webinar. We'll definitely put it up on the CPAU website, and maybe if I wait a day or two to send out my follow-up email, we'll have the recording for you right then and there. But so a lot of information, so no worries. If you do have questions as we're going through this, please feel free to put your question in the chat or raise your hand. You could use the reaction to raise your hand or just unmute. We're pretty casual here. We have 17 people, so that will be just fine. Thank you all for your commitment to driving electric. Decreasing fossil fuel consumption both reduces carbon emission and air pollution and helps every living being on the planet. Kevin, on to you.
You know, speaking of help, I'm going to apologize for this raspy voice. I spent an entire lifetime without allergies, and now I seem to have allergies. I blame global warming and carbon emissions. So, you know, help me out, I guess, is the short thing that I want to give to everybody. All right, let's take a quick look at the breakdown of California's greenhouse gas emissions. Well, it's important to take lots of different climate actions. This chart emphasizes the importance of getting off of fossil fuels. Our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of emissions in the Bay Area, in California, and in the US, representing up to 50% of our individual carbon footprint. When you switch from a gas car to an EV and plug into clean energy, you cut your carbon footprint in half. And thank you for that. All right, let's kick this off with a charging overview. People get worried about charging, but for most people, 80 or 90% of charging is done at home or at work. Charging at home is easy. You just plug in the charger that comes with your vehicle into a standard 120 volt outlet. There are no install costs besides having a heavy-duty grounded extension cord. And you can count on charging 25 to 40 miles inside of about 8 hours. In the Bay Area, on average, people drive about 25 miles a day, so this simple solution called Level 1 works great for most people. If you drive more than 40 miles a day, a good option is to see if you can charge at work. If not, you may want to purchase a home charging station for Level 2 charging. You'll get about 25 miles in an hour, so you can easily get a full charge overnight. I do want to point out that charging an EV is different from filling up a gas car. Your You're basically just topping off the electricity that you used each day. For me, that's going from about a 60% battery charge to an 80% battery charge. It's rare that you have to charge to 100% or from low to 100% daily. And in any case, the first step is to consult with an electrician to check your electrical panel capacity. To be sure, charging away from home is easy too. There are many level 2 public chargers available, so you can charge when you're around town and running errands. When you're on a road trip, you'll want a fast charge with a level 3 fast charger, the fastest charging available. And keep in mind there are 3 standards for fast charging: CHAdeMO, CCS, and Tesla. Most cars use the CCS, besides Tesla, which is the one on the right and is now called the North American Charging Standard, and Leaf, which is to the left. All the other cars currently charging right now use the CCS system in the center. As you probably know, Tesla has their own proprietary supercharging network, which is opening up as we speak to others besides Tesla. It provides fast, easy, and reliable charging. And, sometime later this year, a lot like later today, but bigger, a lot of adapters are going to be available to people who can then use them in their non-Tesla cars to charge at Tesla stations. So we're all pretty much looking forward to that.
Can I just interject? I was recently on a road trip. I drive a Tesla Model Y when I go on road trips. And I saw 2 different cars charging at the Tesla superchargers. I saw a Ford F-150 Lightning. It had to take up 2 parking spots, and it kind of angled in a funny way to reach the cable. With the Ford F-150, they had bought an adapter, like a third-party adapter, and all they had to do was plug in the adapter, plug in and plug the Tesla charger right into that adapter, and it immediately worked. And with the Rivian, they can actually, I saw a Rivian truck, and they can use their Rivian app to get the supercharger started. So that was pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, and I'm seeing more and more cross-pollination, which makes me pretty happy, especially as I go from charging station to charging station, making sure everything's working, because that's kind of what I do for fun. Anyway, to recap, level 1 works with a 120-volt outlet, get 3 to 6 miles of charge per hour. Level 1 is low cost and an easy solution. Just plug your charging cable into the outlet. You may not need a grounded heavy-duty extension cord, but you may as well have one if you don't already have one. And just to move on to level 2. Level 2, recapping again, requires a 240-volt outlet, like your clothes dryer. You'll get about 25 miles an hour of charge, and you can fill up your battery overnight if it's empty, which is rare unless you're driving a heck of a lot. The things you'll want to do is assess the cost, working with an electrician if you're not one yourself. You want to hire a licensed electrician, which some of us have learned at our peril, and we're passing that along to you. Ask your electrician for the maximum amps and buy a charging station that matches this rate. We will put a link, we'll send you a link to the home charging advisor that will guide you. And just to keep in mind, before buying a charging station, the simple things like determining the best location are really important. Make sure the cable can easily reach your car's charge port, and it's long enough to reach a second EV when you're ready for your second EV. You might also want to ask your electrician to install the station so it's portable, not permanently fix the wall. If you need to relocate your charging station, you'll have a flexible solution. All
So
right.
there's a
Yeah.
question in the chat, not an EV owner yet, but I have a question. How do you house the charging nozzle on the outside of the house? Do you have a charging station? I mean, I'll just tell you personally, we just had our electrician put in a 240-volt outlet in our car, in our driveway where we park our car. And I just kind of wrap the cable around that. Again, that is a Tesla. With a Tesla, you don't actually need a charging station. You just need an adapter to the regular cable that comes with it. But it's the same if you were to get just, a 240-volt outlet and then buy a charging station, which you can get at like a big box store or online even to plug into the 240-volt outlet. There's a little hook and you can just wrap it around that. Is that what you're asking, Jack?
And Jack, what Annika has just said is my experience as well. I have plenty of friends who've bought a charging station, and then, where you put your nozzle depends on what makes you happy.
So the charging station is outside the house.
It can be. It can be inside a garage or outside. In my case, it's outside because I don't use my garage for parking.
Mm.
But yeah, our executive director has one on the inside of her garage, and we see the cable, sometimes charging the car that's parked in the garage, sometimes charging the car that's in her driveway. So it's long enough. Yeah.
Did she put a hole in her garage door to get the charging unit out, or the cable out?
It just goes kind of like underneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Pretty simple. Yeah. Deb, congrats on your Kia EV9. That's great. Where do you get the adapters? So Kia is one of the many, I think every single car manufacturer has committed to the NACS adapter, except for Nissan Leaf. I think that's the only car that is not going to get the NACS adapter that I have heard of. So every manufacturer has their own timeline. I know Rivian and Ford have already started shipping them out. You do have to go and sign up. I guess they made some sort of announcement, like we're going to be sending out adapters now. These were free, by the way, for the first round anyway. And people were just signing up and then they would get it in the mail. And then, Leonard, the Kia salesperson told me that Kia does not recommend charging the Kia Niro at a Tesla charging station. I find that strange. I don't know why they would say that. The reasons that you may all be aware, but some of the reasons why this has all happened and we have a standard, the NACS standard now, is for reliability reasons and like plug and play, making it very easy to just back in, plug in, and it starts charging. But really the reliability on the super charging stations is like 99% versus on like Electrify America, EVgo, ChargePoint, more like 75%. It's getting better. I don't know why they would say that because they have accepted that they are moving to the NACS standard. So I will just say that one of the reasons that we actually do these types of webinars for education is because oftentimes, because this is new technology, the dealers don't always know that much about EVs. And so I think looking at a forum would be great. Okay, non-Tesla supercharging is only accessible. This is kind of interesting. But Kia EV9 forum writes that non-Tesla supercharging is only accessible for CCS-enabled vehicles. Yeah, the Kia Niro is a CCS-enabled vehicle. All of the vehicles besides the Nissan Leaf and the Teslas are CCA enabled. So that shouldn't be the problem. And then I think I missed a question here. For level 2 charging, what's the typical cost in the Bay Area? Yeah, it's actually determined by whoever put in the chargers, or like if it's at a 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven determines the charge. If the cost, if it's in a hotel, the hotel determines the cost. One of my favorite places, I live in San Rafael. I go to the Civic Center where they have a lot of chargers and farmers market on Sundays. I'll plug in there for an hour and pick up 25 miles of charge for $1, which is incredibly affordable. So if I wanted to charge my car 100 miles, it would cost $4. And if gasoline were, say, $5 a gallon, it would be $20. So pretty affordable, not much more expensive than charging at home. But level 3 charging is typically more expensive, even though some of the chargers are now, charging stations are now using time of use, just like we are at many of our homes. So they're giving you and like I know with Tesla, it'll tell you what time the different rates take place. So I think that's kind of interesting. I think it makes sense to do so. We want to really incentivize charging during the day because we in California have a lot of solar energy available during the day. And if we don't use it by charging our EVs, for example, or store it in batteries, then it's gone. Or we have to sell it somewhere else, but we want to use as many renewables as possible. So that's typically what utilities recommend. Okay, moving on.
Well, and Annika, I just want to tag on to Jack's question about hoses. Look in your yard or look in your neighbor's yard and see what they do with their garden hose. If they're one of those tidy people who wraps it up and puts it on a little hose holder, that's awesome. If they're one of those people who waters and throws it down, well, that's many people. That, as far as I can tell, is the only way people distinguish themselves when they have home charging, is how meticulous they are about, putting things on their charger. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention is that, it's hard to get actual facts on this, but about 75% of most dealers' income, their actual profit, comes from repairs. So a lot of especially old timers, will not be in favor of EVs and will end up giving discouraging information to people who are looking at an EV because they want to keep the profits that go with fixing gas cars. So, Annika, you going to pick it up?
Sure. Smart splitters. So if you're interested in level 2 charging at home and you already have a 240-volt outlet, a smart splitter can be useful. Smart splitters are 240-volt safety devices that can be used for your home EV charging and appliance setup. Excuse me. The two primary uses for smart splitters are sharing it between like a washer and dryer or a large appliance and an EV, or even between two EVs if you end up getting two EVs. It's really just so that you don't blow your circuit. But that could be a really easy solution. You don't have to bring the electrician out. Well, you may want to bring the electrician out just because it may take more amps to charge your car than it does to dry your clothes. So just to make sure that it's safe. Okay, so once you start driving electric, it's ideal to charge your EV from rooftop solar. There's a federal tax credit available this year and for the next 9 years for 30% of the cost of rooftop solar and storage. So if you get a battery, 30% off. So that's amazing. It's a great feeling to charge your car from the electricity that you generate from your own roof. And the battery provides a little more resilience if there's a power outage. If you're not ready for solar, the City of Palo Alto Utilities electricity is already carbon neutral, and CPAU has some of the most affordable electricity around. To make the most of renewables, they recommend that you charge your EV during peak solar hours, and if that's not available, after midnight, when not a lot of people are using electricity. Other utilities and CCAs, which are all listed here, the ones in the Bay Area anyway, have clean options as well, and some offer a special reduced EV or time of use rate, so you pay less for electricity during certain times of the day, which is typically between midnight and 3 p.m. So most of the time, it's very affordable to charge your EV at home if you're on an EV time of use rate. You really want to avoid, I know our utility, our CCA is like messaging a lot, like don't use energy between 4 and 9 p.m. My little anecdote, my 93-year-old parents live down on the peninsula, and their Alexa goes off every night at 9 p.m. because that's when they want to use their dishwasher. They wait until after 9 p.m. to use their dishwasher. So it's something that we're all moving toward. So aside from switching to clean electricity, it's a good rate, to be sure you're getting affordable electricity, since you'll be using more electricity at home if you're charging from home. And if you are a CPAU customer, you are already enjoying affordable energy anytime you charge at home. If not, check with your utility or CCA to learn more about different rate plans. Your utility may offer this special reduced time of rate plan, EV or time of use rate plan, so you pay less for electricity during certain times of the day. With the EV time of use rate, you can get inexpensive electricity during off-peak hours, as you can see on this chart. So you can program your EV to charge during off-peak times. You'll want to make sure that this EV rate plan works for your lifestyle, because you'll be charged this rate for all of your electricity usage, unless you have a separate meter. Some people decide to install a second meter, one just for EV charging, and they get the EV time of use rate, and then they have a different rate plan for their other appliances. But I happen to be on the EV time of use rate plan. It's pretty easy for me because I work from home, so I'm able to do my laundry in the morning when I wake up. I don't do it at night. I also can set my dishwasher I can delay it so it starts after midnight. So I'm trying to use as much electricity during the day, not between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. really. So it kind of depends on your lifestyle. So this is kind of interesting. This is kind of shows why utilities are recommending daytime charging. You can see this green thing that we call this the duck curve. This is when we have the most renewables on the grid between really like 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. So during the summer, I do have solar, so I kind of break the rule and use electricity until 5 p.m. because we have a lot of sun shining down on our solar panels, and I feel like we're using that energy that we're generating right then and there. Say goodbye to the gas station. It is super convenient and easy to charge at home or at work. You just need to get in the habit of charging daily or as needed. To save money and charge with clean energy, you can program your car to charge during off-peak times. For many people in the Bay Area, that's between midnight and 3 p.m. On a day-to-day basis, most manufacturers recommend that you charge your battery to 80% to avoid any potential battery degradation. You can crank it up to 100% the night before you're heading off on a road trip so that you can enjoy the full range of your battery. So with all lithium ion batteries, I have learned our cell phones, our laptops, our cars, our EVs, they are happiest when they are in the range of 20 to 80%. I know most of us keep our phones plugged in all the time and our computers plugged in all the time. Out of habit, we don't want to run out of battery charge, but really all of our devices should, 20 to 80% is the happy place. I did hear that Apple now has some sort of setting where you can set it to just charge to 80%. So that's kind of new and interesting. If you drive a plug-in hybrid or a PHEV, as we call them, remember to always plug it in. You may be able to cover your daily driving footprint on 100% electricity. I do have a friend who had a plug-in hybrid. After the first year, she had never gone to the gas station because she was very diligent about plugging in all the time. She had the Honda Clarity, and she actually went to the Honda dealership and asked them, what should I do? I haven't used the gasoline at all in my car. So they recommended that she drain the gasoline and then refresh it with a fresh tank of gasoline just in case. But she was pleased because she did not have to combust the gas. She just emptied it. Okay, so when you can charge at work, your workplace may be your primary charging source, especially if you live in an apartment or condo, or you can use it to boost your range. You may as well if you're parked there all day and the sun is shining. Be sure to check your employee benefits for driving an EV. Sometimes there are discounted charging programs for employees. If you don't have workplace charging, ask for it. If they aren't already planning it, advocating for charging can make a really big difference. And if needed, it may be useful to find chargers near your workplace. I'll talk a little bit about that, in the next few slides. And Kevin, do you want to take it from here?
Heck, why not? There are several EV charging solutions for people who live in apartments and condos, and more solutions are on their way. If a charging station is not available, people charge by plugging into a standard 120-volt outlet if it's available and if it's allowed. The new smart outlets are an inexpensive solution to charging. It handles billing. And you can charge at work and have, especially as we were just talking about, when the sun is shining and we have plentiful solar available. You can also charge at public fast chargers. On average, that kind of fast charging will get you about a 70% battery charge in 30 minutes. EV Match provides some charging access with a peer-to-peer network for charging. You can download that free app to share your charger or find and reserve charging. And maybe most importantly, you can advocate. You can lobby your property owner to install charging stations or even just 120-volt outlets. We in California are in a right to charge state. There are about 7 other states which provide right to charge laws as a state law, which supersedes all local jurisdictions. So yeah, ask for it. You can get it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you park your car in a shared space like a garage, smart outlets offer an affordable way for EV owners to charge their vehicles. You plug your charging cable into the outlet and use the app to start and end a charging session. These smart outlets monitor the electricity you use to charge your EV so you can reimburse the property owner. Orange Charger is one of those. Plugzio is another one. That's Plugzio, Plugzio. The other one is Orange. They're currently available.
And GoPower EV.
Oh yeah, they're the newest kid on the block, and their bio report's doing pretty dandy. All right, in terms of work charging, or charging on the road, I should say, again, most people are charging at home or at work, but charging on the road is getting easier all the time. There are many level 2 public chargers around, and you can use those when you're around town running errands. Level 3 charging is for charging on road trips and is the fastest charging available. Speed of charging depends on the car and the speed that the charging station can provide. Any CCS car can use any CCS charging station, and it will charge at the speed of the lowest common denominator, which for those of us who've been out of math for a while, that is either the charging station or the car itself, which will gate your speed. When you're charging, as you get more battery range, the charging slows down. So often charging is only 15 to 20 minutes. This may seem silly, but don't forget to unlock your car to release the charger. I've been there tugging to release the charger, but you have to unlock the car first. Also, beware of the linger fee. This is actually a considerate thing and a financial thing. You'll be charged if you're plugged in but no longer charging, and that it might kick in as soon as 10 to 15 minutes. Taking a road trip. It's getting simpler all the time. It didn't used to be as recently as 3 or 4 years ago. There are thousands of public charging sites providing fast charging. More are coming. Many cars have their own navigation systems to find charging stations, and using apps like PlugShare and a better route planner, it's easy to plan a trip and find chargers along the way. You can map out your trip on your computer before you head out, and you can use the app when you're on the road. Whatever you do, demo things, demo PlugShare, walk through the web application and the filters, download the app. Keep in mind these road tripping charging tips. Many hotels have destination chargers just for the hotel guests' use. You can search Expedia, for example, to find out which hotels have charging. Level 2 overnight will fill your tank and make a big difference. When you're staying at an Airbnb or a Vrbo, you may want to charge on level 1 and alert the owner first to let them know or ask them if you can charge at their home. And typically, they'll put an extension cord out for you.
I was going to just hop on over to the PlugShare app just to kind of demo this a little bit and walk people.
You like to do that. That always makes me nervous. Go, hop over right now.
Yes, here we are. So this is PlugShare. I will just say it's not the easiest app to navigate. So I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit, what it looks like. You go up to this, the filter up here, the 3, what do we call that? Like the hamburger thing, I guess, the stoplight thing or hamburger. So this is the legend. This shows, this shows, which charging stations are high powered, public, level 2 chargers. There are some interesting filters that you want to use, and this app seems to change pretty much every time I come here. So sometimes when you get an EV, a new EV, they may provide 3 years of free charging at Electrify America or EVgo or something like that. If that is the case, I would go here to networks, toggle them all off, and choose that one. So for example, if you have free charging at Electrify America and you're heading down to San Diego, click on Electrify America and you can find out exactly where the charging stations are. Sorry, I'm zoomed in pretty far. You'll find Electrify America charging stations all the way down the coast to San Diego. There are a lot of them, as you can see. Some of you may have gotten EVgo. Now, I wasn't in that situation. I have a Tesla. I also have a Volkswagen e-Golf. So I use all different types of charging. So for me, I would click Electrify America, EVgo, ChargePoint. Those are like the 3 most common ones. So I would want to be open to all of those if I were taking a road trip in my e-Golf. So this is where you can kind of, I just think this toggle on and toggle off button is handy because otherwise you have to click every single one, which can be tedious. You also want to decide, if you're going on a road trip and you have a CCS charging port, you only want to have this CCS one ticked. This is level 3 charging, so that's for being on a road trip. If you also had the J1772, that is for level 2 chargers as well. So you don't want to do that when you're on a road trip because it would be in an hour you would get 25 miles versus in 30 minutes you could go from 10% to 30% of a charge. If you happen to have that handy adapter, you could look for CCS and NACS. So just wanted to kind of go walk through that with you. Also, they have a trip planner. So if you want to plan a trip, you could just click on Trip Planner and plan a new trip. Since I've been to this site many times, it's not giving me there's like a little demo. So I suggest when you plan a trip that you go through the demo. They'll walk you through the whole process. Here is a former trip that I took to Santa Barbara where I decided to stop at these different places. I was in Salinas, Then I was down in Buellton before I made it down to Santa Barbara. I don't know why it says. I guess maybe I went down to Ventura at some point in this trip. But as you're kind of selecting the stations, you can click on a station, and you can see on the left that it shows you all about this station. Tells you how many chargers are there. So this one has 6 CCS SAE chargers, 1 CHAdeMO. If you drive Nissan, you can kind of look at some of the data here. As recent as June 1st, somebody checked in there to station 2 and it worked just fine. It also will tell you, sometimes you can see a photo. Here you can see a photo so that, when you pull in, you kind of know what you're looking for. You can add directions here to navigate you there. If you have Apple CarPlay in your car, that just transfers directly to your car. So that is a really easy thing to do. You can also find out if there's, where does it tell you? What kind of, at some place it tells you if there's food and restrooms that you can use. I'm not sure why that's not coming up right now, but yes. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to take you over to PlugShare so that you're familiar with it. Now, Kevin, I believe you have a little more experience using a Better Route Planner. Is that true? I know you used to use it.
I do. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's meant to be a very user-friendly interface. It's got all kinds of levels so you can set filters and parameters to your heart's content. How much are your wheels actually pumped up, your tires, because lots of people want to keep their tires not quite inflated. You can work with that in a Better Route Planner. But this is part of the research, right? Once you're here and once you're planning a trip, you want to set aside a couple of hours with a computer, figure some stuff out.
Kevin, do you want to continue with the charging networks?
I do, although there's really not much more to say than look at this slide. EA, Electrify America, called by most people EA, Tesla, EVgo, ChargePoint, these are 4 of the largest providers of charging on the road. I've used them all and had good results with all of them. I have had some struggles with some of them, but, ain't that life. One of the things we do want to recommend is that you try public charging locally before you rely on it for a road trip. So wherever you are, you've got one of these or 2 of these, maybe all of these near you. Go out, figure out how the initiation works and how easy it is for you. Try it for a minute or 2, and you'll be happy about having done that later. It's like doing a test flight.
Yeah, and I would also recommend downloading all of these apps onto your phone.
Yeah.
So that when you arrive at the charging station, if you're on a road trip on a hot day, which we do get here sometimes in California, you don't have to be dealing with that in the hot sun. So download it, hook up your payment, your credit card payment, so it's ready to go. In many of these charging stations, you can just use a Visa card, but it's more affordable to use the app. You get special pricing if you use the app. So if you're price conscious, that's something that I would consider for sure. And yes, definitely practice a couple times. It's not that hard. Oh, it's not that hard, but it's just good to kind of be familiar with it. The other thing is, if you end up, if you show up at one of these charging stations and it happens to not work, there's always an 800 number. I mean, I think on the EVgo app, like on my phone, I'm using the app to try to connect. If it doesn't work, I can say, it says contact customer care. So I just hit that button and I'm calling and talking to customer care. 100% I recommend that. Call, they will help you get connected. It's worked every time I have called an 800 number. I happen to have teenagers. Well, they're a little older. They're college students now, but they drive the Volkswagen e-Golf pretty often. And sometimes they call me and like, oh, it doesn't work. I'm like, don't call me, call the 800 number. They will help you. So, yes. Some people are worried about buying EVs because they won't be able to power them during outages, but EVs can actually help. You can plug in an inexpensive 300-watt inverter into the accessory port of an EV and power up small appliances like cell phones, laptops, and LED lights. That's the red box on the left there. It's like $30 on Amazon. That's something that I've used in both of my EVs when we've lost power, just to bring a little more comfort into the home. Plug in a power strip and a couple of fairy lights, or whatever you call those, light string lights, and get a little comfort in my home. That's been great. Even, during the workday, let's say I lose power and I'm, working on my computer, but I haven't been plugging it in all day. Sometimes I'll go sit next to my car or in my car and work, just plug it in and I can just work from there. So that's pretty handy. But while this low wattage inverter cannot power up your refrigerator, some new EVs that are out like a lot of the Kias and Hyundais can, because they have higher wattage bidirectional charging available. So that's the picture in the middle. So along with having a charging cable to put energy into your car, you have this adapter to pull electricity out of your car. So you can actually plug in like large appliances like your refrigerator, other large appliances, and power up your home appliances for up to a week or so, using the electricity that's already in your battery. I mean, we lost power for 5 days. It was kind of interesting. It was like 3 years ago. So close to San Rafael, I could drive to Richmond. They still had power there, so I would go to Richmond and power up over there, bring the electricity back, power up my home. And then another day I drove to San Francisco, powered up in San Francisco, came home. So I just grabbed the energy somewhere else and then brought it home. Pretty handy. We now have been demoing at a lot of our events, using this technology to power up an induction cooktop, an electric kettle, an electric cooler, because you really don't want to lose your food. I mean, that's the big one, right? And so pretty cool stuff. So you can do all of those. And this is not only good for power outages, but if you like to go camping, you arrive in the redwoods and you're wanting to have this, nice experience with nature. And now you can have a zero emissions experience. No need for the Pullman cook stove and bringing propane. You can just cook right off of the clean energy from your EV. I believe there was a question in the chat somewhat related to this. Have you seen that?
This is from Randy. He says a couple of years ago, the state experienced hot weather. The state advised people not to charge their EVs.
And I think that was specifically, I remember I was shopping with my daughter. It was, please don't charge your EVs between 4 and 9 p.m. In general, you shouldn't be charging your EV from 4 to 9 p.m. EVs draw a lot of electricity, so if we can avoid charging, then it helps stabilize the grid. That's why people are encouraged to buy utilities and CCAs to charge during the day when the sun is shining. Hold that electricity into your car while the sun is shining. Our cars also, as we have demonstrated here, can serve as batteries for backup. So the technology around inverters is advancing quickly. There are several companies working on vehicle-to-home energy management systems, like the one pictured to the right there. Just imagine when you come home at the end of the day, when electricity is expensive and not so clean, you can power up your home with the energy stored in your EV battery and then fuel up during off-peak charging times. This technology is close. It's been close for about 5 years, but I'm hearing it's closer and closer. We just had a big event out in Oakland, and there was a company who came and had a little demo right next door. So there was a partnership with the Kia EV9, which is a 3-row Kia. I think somebody who's here has that car. Is that you, Deb? Yeah? Awesome. So there's going to be a demo with Wallbox. So Wallbox is an inverter that you can buy. It's cheaper than getting like Tesla Powerwalls. So you have this inverter, and it's a bidirectional. So it allows you to use your, charge up your EV, and then, charge up your home with the energy in your EV. So it's really just kicking off. I can give you more information about that, Deb, or if anybody else is interested in the Kia EV9. I think it's called Bidirectional Electricity is the company. They're out of Berkeley and Oakland. Have you heard of them, Deb?
Yeah, when we were getting ready to buy our car, my husband actually called the company.
Oh,
My husband lobbies on energy and stuff. He's pretty familiar. And they said it's not quite ready for selling to, commercially yet, but it's like right on the cusp. And told us we would be able to charge our house for maybe 2 or even 3 weeks with our EV9 with the bidirectional charger, which blows my mind. So, and we have solar panels, so we'll be,
island. We call it.
Anyway, our understanding is it's not quite ready for consumers, but they said it's a matter of a few months before they're selling.
I think it's like in July, they're like really going to start kicking it off. So it's coming really soon, which is very exciting. It's a whole new way of like really looking at energy and figuring out how we manage our energy. And it's exciting to see these new technologies coming about. And these will all, when this becomes more mass market, this will help stabilize the grid. So very cool technology. Okay. So Kevin, you want to do this one?
You know I love this slide. This is my favorite slide in the deck because so many people look at EVs and are feeling like they're still expensive. They're still where they were 5 or 6 years ago when they were truly a premium above a comparable car, a comparable gas car. Well, it costs so much less to fuel an electric car. It can be 2 to 5 times more expensive to fuel a gas car than an EV, which when you start to do the math, you recognize that the total cost of ownership is going to be much less. By the way, the actual apples to apples comparison selling price of a comparable gas car and EV is really close. We're coming to price parity on that very soon. And keep in mind, too, that at every level of the car spectrum, there are cheaper cars and more expensive cars. There are $25,000 cars, there are $35,000 cars, and above and below that, there's wiggle room that you can actually negotiate with. Keep in mind, too, that maintenance costs are so much lower. It's basically, adding windshield wiper fluid and rotating your tires. And then when you actually get past the MSRP and get to the incentives, you can get incentives up to $7,500, which can bring the cost of purchasing or leasing an EV down by $7,500. So, yeah, I love this slide. Annika, anything you want to say about this slide?
No, I think that's great. But I did want to just take a moment to so I'm going to do a deep dive on incentives right now. And I know about half of the people, Kevin and I were looking at the attendance list, and about half of the people on this webinar already have an EV. So the incentive stuff might not be interesting for you at this point. There are currently 3 types of incentives that can save you when you buy certain EVs. There are additional grants and rebates available for both new and pre-owned EVs for people who qualify through their income and address. So the federal tax credit, or the clean vehicle credit as it's called, has been updated for 2024. The good news is that it's now available as a rebate at point of sale. That is cash on the hood. And you don't require any tax liability to access this rebate anymore. So that's really, really great information that helps more people access this credit. For new EVs, if you purchase them, the credit is either $3,750 or $7,500, depending on some of the battery components in the EV. For pre-owned EVs, it's up to $4,000. And there's a commercial credit as well. And the way you would see that is through a lease. So when you lease a car, really you lease it through the dealership, but the bank actually owns the car. So the bank takes a commercial credit and the dealer can decide whether or not to pass that along to you. So oftentimes when you're leasing a car and you're seeing like a $7,500 credit or bonus to lease, that's where this is from. It's through the clean vehicle tax credit. There are some other additional rebates or incentives through utilities and CCAs. If you get your energy bill from PG&E, there's a pre-owned EV rebate for $1,000 to $4,000. If you get your energy from MCE or PCE, well, MCE has rebates for pre-owned and new EVs, and PCE has credits that's Peninsula Clean Energy, for $2,000 off of pre-owned EVs. That's if your income qualifies. And then there's also the EV discount campaigns that Ride and Drive Clean offers. A couple of really good things here is that you can stack incentives. So for some people who have lower incomes, in many places in the Bay Area, if you get a pre-owned EV, they would qualify for up to $20,000 off of a pre-owned EV. That's almost a free car. That's with the income qualifications. For new cars, it could be close to, about 20,000 as well. There is this program called Clean Cars for All. So if you have a 2007 or older car and your income is on the lower side of things, then you can get up to $12,000 for that car if you turn it in. It's a retire and replace car. So so you can stack a lot of these incentives. And the best way to find out exactly which incentives you qualify for is to use one of these this savings calculator, driveclean.california.gov. Kevin, if you're able to put that in the chat, that would be amazing. Driveclean.cal.
It is already there.
Dang, you are fast. Thank you. So this, you'll put in your income, your household size, and you'll find out exactly what you qualify for. Okay, so before I dive into the federal tax credit, I want to emphasize that I'm not a tax expert, so we recommend that you verify that you qualify for this with your tax professional. There are several requirements to receive the clean vehicle credit for new EVs. You have to purchase or finance a new EV. The final assembly has to be in North America. These are the vehicle price limits. Not to worry, there are many, many EVs under those price limits. Here are the income limits. Some people think this is unfair, that it's the same in California as in other parts of the United States because, income is a little higher here, but this is what it is. And then, as I mentioned, some EVs qualify for $3,750, while others for $7,500. If the EV only qualifies for one of these battery components, then it's available for $3,750, and if it qualifies for both, $7,500. Important to note, if you're using this credit now, this upfront rebate, the dealer that you go to has to be registered with the IRS, and you need to leave the transaction with a seller's report, which you will use when you file your taxes. So these are the vehicles that currently qualify for the federal tax credit for purchase or finance. And this list is growing. A lot of EV manufacturers are now opening up factories in the United States. So at the beginning of this year, there were only like 7 or 8 EVs that qualified, and now we have added many, many more. So that's great. But maybe not all trim levels qualify. Again, income cap applies. This is the website if you want to keep abreast of which ones, qualify and if there are any updates. So for pre-owned, this is the information for if the clean vehicle credit for pre-owned, also available as cash on the hood, which makes for a great down payment. The credit amount is 30% up to $4,000. Again, point of sale, no tax liability. The income caps are a little bit more stringent. and the EV has to be less than $25,000. I know a lot of people are interested in getting pre-owned Tesla Model 3s. There are some available now for under $25,000, so they may qualify. It has to be 2 years old. So we're in 2024 now. So you would need to buy a car that's 2022 or older to qualify. You can only use the credit once. Again, the dealer has to be registered with the IRS. And yeah, this could become somebody's business, actually. So this is available only once every 3 years per person. Here's a little information about the PG&E pre-owned rebate. $1,000 for anybody who receives a bill from PG&E. They have the rebate plus for many, many people, depending upon where you live in the Bay Area. I've checked, the income threshold varies. In Marin, it's like 100,000. In Oakland, it's like 80,000. So many people do qualify for the rebate plus. So that's good to know. This is something that you apply for within 180 days of taking delivery. Here's a little more information. Your name does not have to be on the PG&E bill, but you have to be registered to the same address. And our EV discount campaign. So one of the things that Ride and Drive Clean offers is EV discount campaigns. We do them for pre-owned cars, for new EVs, and we do them for e-bikes as well. We've been partnering with Cartelligent, which is a trusted, highly regarded car concierge service, for 5 years. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they take the hassle out of buying a car. So once in a while, for usually a few times a year, they are able to negotiate special deals on certain EVs. So for the month of June, these are the special deals. I am really pleased because 3 of these are on the very affordable side, under $45,000. And when you look at the potential savings, up to $14,500 off of the EV when you stack everything, these are fantastic deals. The way to get started is to go to I'll actually go there right now, our website. So if you go to our website, wow, this is very small for some reason. If you go to Save Money, there. If you go to Save Money and hit EV discount campaign, you will land on this page. Then you can scroll down, check out the deals, really, understand what these rebates are and what's going on and which car is right for you. Even this cool Mercedes-Benz e-Sprinter van. And then the important thing is you'll want to sign up. So if you are ready to go, you can say, yes, I know what I want, or, I know I want to get an EV pretty soon here in the next month or two. Click that button, fill out these forms, you select the car that you're interested in. You're not committing to anything at all. You're really just committing to having Cartelligent call you and to talk to you about the options. Don't forget to hit submit. If you're interested in learning more about this in the future, you can just hit no and leave your information, and then we'll reach out the next time we have a discount campaign, which we hope to be in the fall. Okay, back to the slideshow. And I will just let you know, some of my friends have saved lots of money. I know Kevin saved a lot of money going through Cartelligent and their discount campaign. Just a quick story. The last time we did a discount campaign in February, my friend calls me from the Volkswagen dealer. She's like, I have to buy my car today, or I'm not going to, they're giving me a great deal today, President's Day weekend, and I have to buy it right now. Is this a good price? And I'm like, well, check with Cartelligent. Turns out Cartelligent gave her a lease deal when you're comparing apples to apples, $70 less a month. So significant savings. So I highly recommend going this route. And it really takes the hassle out of buying a car, which is great. You really just kind of talk to them, let them know what you want. It's a no obligation situation. They'll come back, you say, I want the Volkswagen ID4, I want the red color, I want this trim, these are the features. They'll come back to you with pricing for purchase or lease. And then you can say yes or no, whether you want it or not. You're not committed to anything there. And yeah, even if you take delivery, if the car comes into the dealership and you don't want it, you can actually say no, thank you. So it's a great way to buy a car, save lots of money. When you just go to one of their offices that's in Sausalito, Menlo Park, or Walnut Creek to pick up your car, they give you a little tour of your car, and then off you go. You sign some papers, and it's great. Another benefit is the Clean Air Vehicle decal. So this is where you get access to the HOV lane as a single passenger. Super handy. From what I understand, you do apply for this at the DMV. From what I understand, it will be good through 2025. We'll see what happens after then. My latest stat that I saw was 1 out of 4 cars in California purchased now are electric. So I imagine with more and more EVs on the road, being in the carpool, it's not going to save you any time in the carpool lane, but we'll see what happens in 2025. Okay, we've reached the end of our program, and it's time for Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. How are we doing with questions at this point, Kevin? Have you?
Yeah, I've been answering a few questions here and there. No one is complaining out loud. Thank you, I guess, if you were thinking about complaining out loud. Are there any questions that I have not answered?
And if you have questions right now, feel free to just unmute or raise your hand. Or
Yep.
I've been looking at the Chevy Equinox EV. They promise it, but it doesn't seem to ever come out.
Okay, so it is being sold through Costco Auto. Are you a Costco member?
Yes.
So you can get $1,000 off. Costco Auto will deliver to your door, and I can think of no better proof that that mofo is available right now for you to get.
Costco Auto.
Costco Auto. Yeah.
I would actually venture to add that I might check with Cartelligent to see if they're able to get that for you, because they may be able to get better pricing for you, and then you can also use the Costco rebate.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Yes.
I think I'll get 3 or 4 then.
Yeah, why not?
Hey, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes it's true. This car was supposed to come out in the summer. So I think, yeah, I haven't seen one out on the road yet, but I know it's, yeah.
Well, according to the salesman I talked to, it was supposed to come out last fall.
Well,
So-
yes. The second round, though, of communication said this summer. But yes, Gloria, I wanted to say that, yes, Cartelligent can help you with any EV. They take the hassle out of buying an EV. It's great. So the thing about the cars that are on the EV discount campaign is that typically Cartelligent has a service fee of $595. If you mention Ride and Drive Clean, they'll take $100 off. And if you purchase one of the EVs on the EV discount campaign, they will waive that fee altogether. But because they're able to negotiate with multiple dealers, they typically are able to get better pricing regardless.
Yeah, Gloria, I have to tell you, I negotiated a great deal on a car and thought I'm really good. And then I went and told my wife, and my wife said, you keep telling me this Cartelligent is really great. Why don't you ask them? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's all good. Sure enough, I saved another $1,500 by going with Cartelligent, which makes that service fee $595, especially if you're going to get $100 off just for mentioning Ride and Drive Clean. The service fee is like, yeah, I'm getting it back by their buying power.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I have to say, we all think that, we like to think that we're great negotiators.
I am.
But yeah, I mean, I've had so many friends come to me like, you should hear the deal that I got. I was so good at, I was hard, negotiating back and forth. And then it's like, okay, you're paying $100 more than if you had gone through Cartelligent. But that's okay. I like to think I'm a good negotiator, but I'm sure Cartelligent will do a better job.
Yeah, damn good.
Yeah. Please unmute.
How long do the batteries last?
That's a great question. The batteries will last for the life of the car. So there's a lot of questions about batteries, and people think that they have to replace them. But the battery, and actually with the early Nissan Leafs, there were some battery issues. And so people have replaced the battery in the Nissan Leaf. I had somebody in my last week webinar who owns a 2011 Nissan Leaf. He's still driving it. I think the initial range was about 85 miles, and he has 40 miles now. And it's fine. He uses it as like a round the town car. It's a second car for him. He would never take that on a road trip, but if he's like bouncing around downtown running errands, it's perfectly fine.
And the best data they have, though, Annika, right, is that 10 years out from purchase, more than likely your battery pack will degrade between 10 and 15%. Now, keep in mind, and Annika, you know what the warranties are in California. Say.
8 years, 100,000 miles. So yeah, so there is battery degradation, which that's a real thing, especially when the car is new. It degrades pretty quickly in the first 3 years or so, and then it slows down is what we're hearing anyway. But after 8 to 10 years, yeah, you should have only 10 to 15% battery degradation. And for day-to-day driving, because if we're able to just top off what we've used that day, it's a non-issue. It's really only a little bit more inconvenient when you're on a road trip. You may have to stop a little more frequently.
And keep in mind, when you say it degrades quickly in the first few years, yeah, that's where you're going to see somewhere between 5 and 8% degradation. But then it slows down, and 10 years later, you're at 15% degradation. So if you had a 300-mile battery, let me do the math here, you're going to have 265 miles left. That's not bad.
Okay. Thanks.
Looking at a PHEV for long trips, any deals on the RAV4 Prime? It's funny. Yeah, that's a common question. About 2 years ago, you had to pay an extra $5,000 to $10,000 to get that car. It's a very popular car. I've seen it now available for under MSRP. I don't think there are any special prices, but you can check with Cartelligent to see what their pricing looks like. For sure. And I think that's a great idea. I mean, if you're able to charge and do most of your driving on electricity, you can save the gas tank for the road trip and then arrive. You can plug in again, perhaps. But, you can use electricity for your commute or your day-to-day driving. And people
Annika?
PHEVs the gateway to EVs. But yeah, do you need to go, Kevin?
I do. I have another Zoom meeting in just a little bit, and my butt kind of hurts, so I'm going to stand up and try to pretend I'm much younger than I actually am.
Okay, excellent.
Everyone, great to meet you. I'm going to go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.